Right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me on this very impromptu podcast. So I know I normally do things on a Saturday, but don't panic. Today's Thursday. For anyone who gets confused, there is one more day until the weekend. So, but no, thank you all very much for joining me. And we have a very special guest today. The gentleman sat there is Jaws 19, who you may or may not have heard of. If you haven't, then you're going to know an awful lot. If you have heard of him, then you're probably going to learn even more. So, which is good. People are doing things already. Someone has resubscribed to my channel. Thank you very much for that. It is greatly appreciated. And thanks, Bex, for the host. So thank you very much. So just to do a quick bit of housekeeping before we kick things off, at the bottom right of the screen is a hashtag, which is MeanMachineTalks. So if any time during this you want to tweet about the show, then you can tweet that and use that hashtag so I can keep an eye on things and then laugh at the hilarity that we're probably going to talk about. And also, if you do wish to catch up on demand, it is available at the providers listed at the bottom of the screen. Now, with that nonsense out, hello, Graham. How are you?
Hello, Dean.
See, he does exist, and he does talk as well, believe it or not. So
I have a functioning voice. That is true.
As he does have a functioning voice, which is wonderful to see. So, but no, thank you very much, Graham. It's great to have you on board. I know we've.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, you're very welcome. I know we've had many a discussion about when we're going to do this. So we decided to nail down a Thursday. So which is today. So that's been why we're doing it. So
it is Thursday. Yes,
it is. Yes.
You blackmailed me, you threatened my pets, I think you stole my car at one point and would only return it once I agreed to come on your podcast.
I mean, I don't know if it was me or my masked character, is all I'm going to say. It was one of us, but I'm not going to admit or deny any of that. Anyway, with that being said, we are here to talk about everything to do with you. So what I normally do with my guests is I normally pass the virtual mic over the screen, so something like that. And I will now, very good, well done. I will now offer the floor to you to give you a brief introduction. So introduce yourself in about a minute or less about who you are, what you do, and all the cool things that you're working on.
Wow, no pressure then.
No, not at all.
I've got to distill my entire personality, creative output, and life story into, what did you say, just less than a minute?
Well, yeah, more about what you do. I mean, we can go into your life story in a bit, but yeah.
All right, what do I do? Right, you're not interested in my day job because that's dull. What you're more interested in is the rubbish I put out on social media. Correct,
that's exactly what we're interested in.
Yeah, no one talks about their day jobs anymore. So I am the owner, creator, proprietor, director, producer, writer, editor of Jaws 19, which is a YouTube channel, and I make videos about cinema and movies and all that kind of stuff. I'll do essays on certain subjects. I might talk about my top 5 favourite things on a certain thing. I'm going to use the word thing a lot because I'm struggling for a synonym.
It's a strong word, it's fine.
It's a good multi-purpose word, thing, isn't it? So yeah, I make videos on lots of things. I also do a monthly live quiz on YouTube, which is quite popular, where again I spend Saturday afternoon frantically writing 60 questions ready to go live in that evening. I prepare it for months in advance and it's lovingly crafted. And I also, well, it's now become an annual thing. I try and make at least one short film a year. I made my first one last year, which was called Job. And it was a little short horror film that I filmed with basically a bunch of mates and enthusiasm and very little money. And, well, I don't know, do you want me to talk about the new thing yet, or have you got that saved for later in the meeting?
Well, I mean, since we're already on the subject, let's go straight into it. So explain the wonderful project that you're working on.
Okay. Well, I wanted to be a bit more ambitious than the last one. The last one was wonderful and enthusiastic, but no one will mind me saying this. It was a little rough around the edges. It was handmade, and that was half the beauty of it. It was friends having fun with cameras, and we all dressed up in silly costumes and ran around an office building in Birmingham and filmed it, and it was great. But yeah, I just wanted to dial up the quality a bit on this next one. So I started raising money earlier for it this time. I wrote the script a lot earlier than I did last time, because I think I was still writing the script the night before on the last one. I've gone a little more ambitious with the story, because the previous film was more of a tribute and a parody to different horror villains and stuff like that. It's still on YouTube now. It's called Job. You search Jaws 19 Job.
Funny enough, I actually watched it today.
You watched it today?
I did, so I've put one extra review on that, so there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's very welcome. No, you're very welcome.
I wondered why it had gone ping, an extra one.
Yeah, I pinged it around the office as well. I didn't.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So I actually watched it today, and yeah, it's quite interesting. You said that it was handmade because I think there's almost a bit of charm about the way that it was put together, and as you said, because it's been handmade, you can obviously see the. You're not looking for Hollywood quality here, and I think when you know what you're already looking for, if you're already looking for something that's going to be handmade and a bit rough around the edges, I think that charm almost comes through in the video, and it does, and it is a very entertaining and quite comical.
Thank you.
I don't know if it was meant to be comical, but there were certainly bits where I laughed at it. So,
but I imagine you're referring to the bit where I got smacked in the face with a shovel.
That was exactly the part. That was exactly the part when I laughed. So, yeah, you clearly know me very well. But no, it was fantastically well put together. But let's go more into the new project. Let's explore that.
So the new one it's not a horror pastiche or anything this time. It's an original story that I wrote. It's called A Switch. I'm not gonna say any more about it than that in terms of what it's about.
Not a Nintendo Switch before anyone thinks it's that.
It's basically basically it's about someone who goes to buy a Nintendo Switch and is pleased with it.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I've just spoiled that. Anyway, carry on.
So it's called A Switch. In terms of genre, I suppose it's very loosely sci-fi. I mean, it's set in the real world with real people, but there's some sort of sci-fi elements to it. I do not want to reveal anything about the story, if that's okay, because it'll be nicer to see it. As soon as you start telling people about plot, you start sort of continuing the script in your head, and then you come in to watch a film with expectations. And I'd rather people just came to it with no expectations at all. I'm filming it on the 24th and the 25th of August. It's been funded almost entirely by amazing contributions from people who subscribe to Jaws 19 or follow me on Twitter, or even like friends and family and stuff like that have thrown money in. It's been wonderful. So I've managed to raise enough money to pay professional camera and professional sound people. So I've got the wonderful Chris Bullock, who, if you're a fan of Digitizer or Bartians, you'll know who Chris Bullock is, and also Izzy as well. Izzy Jones, the camera person who worked on Bartians and Digi and all that kind of stuff. They are both working on my film, so I'm honoured. I'm honoured to have them involved, and I'm more happy that I can actually pay them well this time as well, because they're professionals.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's nice to be able to give back. I mean, obviously, working on a small project like yourself is nice in itself. But yeah, as you're right, if you can give back to somebody's services, I think that's
they're freelancers. It's a hard life. I have the luxury of a 9-to-5 job, and making films is my hobby. So I'm making zero money out of it. I do this because I enjoy it. It's fun. But for Chris and Izzy, it's their job. So yeah, they should be paid for it. So yeah, that's the crew, and we've got a really, really cool cast as well. So we've got so you saw Job. So anyone who saw that will recognise Zoe, who played the main character in Job. That's the one who hit me in the face with a shovel. So yeah, I know you enjoyed that bit, didn't you, Dean? Just keep rewinding to that bit where I get smacked in the head with a shovel.
I mean, if you go through your analytics, you may see a spike at that particular point. But I admit I did watch that bit 3 times. So I have to admit. So because I'm a bit of a sadist,
I spent a long time syncing up the sound effects to get that rubber shovel to sound like it was actually hitting me right in the face. So I'm glad you enjoyed that part, because it's the part I enjoyed editing the most.
I'm sure you did. Liar.
We got Zoe from Job, who's in this film. We've got a very talented actor called Sam Anderson. Again, anyone who sort of circulates around the Digi crowd and me on Twitter and stuff like that will know who Sam Anderson is. She did some work on Mr. Biffo's found footage, and she's done a lot of stage acting as well, so she's going to be in the film. And the final cast member that I managed to get is Bex, Trista Bites Bex, who amazingly agreed to appear in my film.
Well done, Bex. Well done.
Yeah. So that's the cast. So we've got 3 very talented actors. We've got a very, very talented and proficient sound and camera person. And then me kind of just bimbling around in the background, hoping that we capture something brilliant, and I'll try and edit all their amazing performances and wonderful sound and great picture into a film. And I've given myself a week to edit it.
Now that nearly sent a shiver down my spine and fear through my mind, because I know what it's like to edit videos myself, and for me to do a Q&A video, which I did recently, nearly caused me to have multiple panic attacks, and I'm surprised my heart is still working. But I had no deadline on that. You're giving yourself a week to complete a whole film.
Yep.
So yeah, in terms of jumping in at the deep end, you've definitely done that. On that note, I'm about to pump in. No impromptu comments there. In fact, that was perfect timing. So there we go. So there is a donation link there if you do want to donate to Graham's film. It is a PayPal pool, which basically means that all the money goes into a big pot, and then it means Graham can do even better things, like, I don't know, make things better.
I might be able to afford to feed the cast and crew, because at the moment, I haven't told them this yet, but they're going out on shoplifting runs basically. So yeah, even if you want to chuck in £1, what you'll be doing is feeding some poor and impoverished actors or camera people or sound people.
I feel like I'm in a comic relief ad now. I feel like I should be. I feel like I should be welling up and looking distant, looking into the distant, like doing some
Can you throw a sort of dusty kind of wasteland behind me on this background thing?
No, but what I can do is do this, which I think is going to get a lot of people excited. So one thing I was going to quickly ask was, is there a need for? Is there a need for a pharaoh to be included in your film at all?
Well, there wasn't, but now I've seen that hat.
No?
That's impressive, mate.
That's
beautiful.
I try to step the game up here. So
I have no headgear now. I can't.
It's all right. I'll take it off in a minute because I can't wear this set of headphones and this hat at the same time. So right, anyway, that's what the people wanted. So there we go. So the answer is no. So that's perfectly fine.
Not in this project, Dean. But I'm not going to discount it for future work. Maybe my next piece will be a period piece set in Egypt.
There we go. See, and since I'm half Egyptian, we can take a flight out there and film some it. So see what we're doing there. Okay.
Beautiful.
See, this is how networking works. This is brilliant.
It is, mate.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So let's scrub the timeline and imagine the project is not happening. What's the history of yourself and films? Is it something you studied? Is it just an avid interest that you've had? Where did the kind of interest or love for films and filmmaking actually come from?
Right. Okay. I've always enjoyed watching films. I've always been a film nut. I'm 44 years old, so my earliest memories of sort of big films were either going to see something at the cinema. I think the first film I was taken to see at the cinema was Jungle Book. Obviously not when it originally came out. It was like 1962, but it was re-released. And I remember being taken to see that. And my dad still to this day likes to remind me that I cried my eyes out when I thought Baloo was dead.
We all did. And anyone who didn't is cold-hearted. And yes, I'm pointing at the camera. So there we go.
Yeah.
So there we go.
You're all stoned.
You have a supporter in me. So there we go. You carry
Brilliant. So that's my early.
So it's perfectly fine. Don't worry. It's fine. It's all right. You brought back bad memories, but it's fine. See, acting. See.
As I got older, I remember my uncle taking me to see Rocky 4 and Superman 4 in the same year.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Rocky 4 was amazing, and I remember recreating scenes from that film with my best friend Jamie, who had blonde hair. So me having dark hair, I was obviously Rocky. He had blonde hair, so he was Drago, and I always got to win.
I must break you.
I must break you. This man is iron. Arnie wasn't in that film, was he?
No, he wasn't. No, he was not. No, you got it wrong, you idiot. Sorry. It naturally comes out. I'm sorry.
I just triggered your Arnie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Bad thing.
So yeah,
bad thing.
that was my sort of formative cinema experiences. I remember back when Christmas used to be a big deal for films on the TV.
Correct.
That was the only time you got to see them because we didn't have a VHS player until I was about 11, 12, 13 maybe. So the only time you ever got to see big release films was when they finally made it round to mainstream TV channels, of which there were only 4 kids.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah. There were only 4 channels.
To be fair, can we even class Channel 5 as a channel?
No. 4 channels and 5.
And a channel.
Do you want to hear a secret? I remember when there were 3.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I remember that. Hang on. Yeah. I vaguely remember 3 channels. I think I was young enough to remember that.
What I remember, the first major film I saw on TV was when Star Wars Episode 4 was shown on TV. So I don't know what year that would have been. I was only young. And I remember it being an event that Star Wars was on TV. And I had Star Wars figures and I had toys, but I'd never seen the film.
Right.
I was only 2 when the first Star Wars film came out of the cinema. I was 5 when Empire came out. So I never got to see them, but I had the figures. So when Star Wars, the first one, came on TV, it was a huge event. I remember my mum and dad turning the lights off in the living room. Had a box of Maltesers to share, and we watched the film. And yeah, like I say, it was an event. It wasn't like now where you just throw a DVD in or quickly skim through Netflix and put a film on. It was an event watch, and I think that was really formative because that made me appreciate the sort of the magic and the event that can surround a film. And yeah, every Christmas it was the channels would try and one up each other, wouldn't they, onto which film they got. And I think they still do it for some weird reason. They still make a big deal about the fact that this year we're showing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's like, hang on,
for the 15th bloody time. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's probably where my love of cinema came from. And then once video players became ubiquitous, and we all got, we either got one ourselves or we found a friend who had one. And that friend inevitably had a big brother who had videos that you wouldn't be allowed to see if your parents had anything to do with it. No, don't raise your eyebrows. I'm talking about like horror films and things.
Of course, yes.
So yeah, when I was about 11 or 12 when I first saw An American Werewolf in London, around my friend Kieran's house. Yeah, amazing film. That was probably the first proper horror film I saw. Really appreciated that. The transformation scene to this day still amazes me. I mean, that film's, what year did that come out? 1980?
Yeah.
40 years old almost, and it still holds up. Amazing work. And then, as I say, once the VHS player took over and everyone got one, then it was about what you could hire, and then it was spending my life in video shops. And my local video shop was really good because what they did is when they took down the last month's promotional posters to put the new ones, they would roll them up, stick an elastic band around them, and sell them.
Oh, that's cool.
For 20p a go. So you could get movie posters for your bedroom walls for 20p a go. I didn't necessarily like all the films they were, but it was just having movie posters on my walls.
That's cool.
That felt cool. Yeah. But in terms of making films, I've had this Jaws 19 channel for not even 2 years.
I was actually going to come on to that, but you carry on. I'll come back to that.
There's literally nothing in between me watching films, enjoying films, up until February 2018 when I started Jaws 19. I was just watching films up until that point and doing nothing with that knowledge.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because before guests come on, I like to do a bit of research because why not? It makes the conversation a bit easier rather than me trying to get information out of you. But I scrolled all the way, and I found the first video that's sitting on your channel at the moment, which I believe is episode 0, which amused me immensely.
Episode 0. So long ago. How young I looked.
Yes. He was very youthful, and he had really long blonde hair. Yeah, and then life took over. No, it was one thing I do like to do with people who are YouTubers, and the majority of the people who have been on so far are YouTubers, is to do a historical back look at kind of where they've been and where they've kind of evolved from. And it's quite interesting looking at your past, where you kind of look at that first video and you're kind of very tentative and you weren't quite sure where the channel was going. And honestly, it is amazing to see a channel evolve the way yours has, especially and I think, to your credit, you haven't been shy about trying new things, which I think is great.
Thank you.
There's some people who get set in a very routine way, and I think it kind of dries out. The creativity gets lost. But I think the one thing that you're all very clever at is, and clearly you must be well aware of this, is that when things aren't working, you completely change things and then rework something new in. And that's where things like the quizzes that you've mentioned, which if you haven't taken part in, for those who are watching or listening to this on demand, please make sure you go and sub to Graham's channel and make sure that you keep an eye out for his quizzes, because they are absolutely brilliant. And the fact that they go out live as well is quite amusing, and they're even better to watch actually afterwards as well, because then you can kind of pause and have a guess and then do it that way. But yeah, it's quite nice to see your evolution of how you've actually gone through and changed things in your channel. And how do you go about? I mean, one thing I wanted to ask is the last couple of videos that you've done that have been quite comedy based and stuff. Is it just spur of the moment, or do you actually sit there and have a think about what type of content you want to put out? Is it just your own creativity and you just pick an idea out and start to run with it, or do you plan these things out just out of interest?
Well, I could paint myself in a much better light and say that I've videos written and planned for the next 6 months.
There we go.
Like some people I know. There's a wonderful guy called Tom James who runs Weekend Lollygagger. He used to be on the Video Game Basement. He sends me messages regularly, and he's got 3 or 4 videos written and in the bag. And then I'll go and sit in the corner and cry, and have some stern words with myself. But in terms of where they come from and how much planning goes into them, not a lot, I'm afraid. I do work better under pressure.
No.
For some weird reason, stress fuels my creativity. So when I'm on a deadline, when I'm like, I don't know what to do, I've got to put a video out, what should I do it about? That is when I tend to have my best ideas. It's strange.
Well, I think most of us, I'm certainly... I'm trying to think of the words. I think I perform better under pressure. I think when I let myself go a little lax with things, I don't normally perform as well as I could. And I think it's funny, you always seem to find your best ideas when you're under an immense pressure. I mean, I remember being at uni, and I lost a load of work, and I used to do video editing and 3D modelling and animation when I was back at university, and I lost a load of work, and I was like, how the hell can I get a lot of this back? And then it suddenly dawned on me, and I was like, aha, success. And I just found like a really clever way of getting it done, which was actually better than the original way that I did it, and I wish I had done it that way. But those are small things that you pick up that help improve your speed and kind of organisation going forward. So I think you're absolutely right. There's the old expression that in order to make a diamond, you need a lot of pressure on sand. Which
indeed, and I think it's interesting how you picked up how the channel's changed. I mean, there's some very real world reasons for that. I started the channel with another person, who I shall not name, because although it wasn't Voldemort, I still don't like naming the fella. Back in February 2018, and he had a very clear vision of what the channel should be, and my role then really was a bit of writing and more presenting, and he wanted the channel to be very cinematic. Everything was polished and well edited, and the early videos looked very different, and each one had a theme.
Correct, yeah.
But what happened is that person departed in June. So after about 4 months, we went our separate ways, and with him went all the equipment. He had a nice camera, he had all the sound equipment, the lenses, the tripods, everything, and I had nothing. apart from this, the moneymaker. That's about it.
The mind, the most creative thing that you need. There you go.
Yeah, so I went out and bought a little digital camera, and thought to myself, I enjoy doing this. Even in these early days, people seem to be enjoying this channel and getting on board with it. So sod it, I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to get on with it. And a wonderful friend of mine called Gingerbeard Mark, who has a YouTube channel which you should all go and subscribe to.
Does he have a ginger beard?
He does have a ginger beard.
Good, carry on.
It's an accurate nickname. He has a beautiful, fulsome ginger beard. But he's been making YouTube videos for ages. He goes and visits historical places or weird sort of roadside attractions or interviews people. Does great videos. But he helped me by literally driving to my house on the Sunday after the other guy legged it. He bought his camera and he was like, have you got something ready to film? Let's go out and do this. And that, for me, just, you mentioned the word networking earlier. That's the beauty of this. And that's what I've enjoyed most about doing this YouTube thing, as well as making the films and editing and all that fun stuff. What's been the best about it is all the people I've met, the networks I've joined, just all the different creative people like yourself who are just willing to share of themselves and share their time and share their skills, and it's all reciprocated. It all goes round, and there's no obligations and this or anything. It's just wonderful. I mean, I'm sure there are some arseholes out there, but I haven't encountered them yet. I've only encountered nice people.
Well, that's. I think that's good. And I think you touched on a great point there, where, I mean, Bex knows a lot of my history. That it's not always been an easy life in the Mean Machine. It has been a rather tough struggle. But the people in the circle that I have now been introduced to, I think the thing that kind of kicked it off was not years ago. When was it? Last February? No, this February even. Cool. It was this February when I did a charity stream, and it was the efforts of other people kind of, constantly pushing me, constantly saying how well I was doing, constantly encouraging. I think that's a massive thing is, there's a lot of it has to be self-belief as well, right? And
yeah.
I mean, I've never been a very confident person in myself, just because I'm a very outward person. I'm very comfortable helping others rather than myself. And it was only at that point I kind of said, well, do you know what? If I'm doing this and it's helping, the charity and people are enjoying this, then maybe my own confidence is starting to grow itself, and it did. And that's where things like this podcast spawned off, and my streams and kind of going to events like I did and stuff like that. So. I think networking and keeping a consistent network of people that are going to change and push you to the max as well. And I think that's probably where, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously the project that you're working on is obviously an amalgamation of yourself plus others in your group, and obviously Bex, who's joined as a member of the team. So through that network, you've managed to now start something amazingly creative. So I definitely think that network is incredibly important. And, with modern day tech, we're not a million miles away from each other. I mean, after all, we organised this whole thing online. This chat is being done online. This is now being broadcast to 10 of you online at the moment. So, it's just to show that networking is an incredibly powerful thing. And going on to networking, I mean, this is probably where your channel comes in beautifully, because things like your the quizzes that you do, I mean, I've sat on a few because basically my knowledge of film is pretty poor, so I did lurk. I'll be honest, I have lurked on a few of those, but it's amazing to see probably people who may not maybe watch your content, but definitely have taken part in those. So, it's different to attract different a variety of audience and kind of bring in that community. And the great thing is like you can sit in on your chats and everybody's incredibly kind with each other and stuff like that. And as you said, it's definitely all about community, and it's definitely the way forward. And I think
it's about creating a safe and positive space for people to just to look out for each other, to have a laugh, and to trust as well. You've got to create a place where people feel, they can trust the other people in the room, and and welcome, and that you're not going to let them down, and that you're not going to tolerate bullshit and prejudice and all that kind of stuff. And I won't, and I'm quite vocal about it on Twitter and things like that. I will not keep quiet. when I perceive that someone is being attacked or marginalised or in any way discriminated against. I won't be one of those people who keeps quiet just to make sure that every single member of the spectrum of my followers is kept happy. It's like I don't want dickheads following me or subscribing to me, to be fair. I'd rather have 500 nice subscribers than 2 million wankers. I really would.
Now I'm hoping that your subs and followers on Twitch that goes up rather than down. But anyway, if it does go down, hopefully it's for the right reason that we've just said. So
exactly, I see it as clearing the room. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that's correct. And I mean, I've said this to multiple people before. And in fact, I mean, with my day job, I do email marketing, and I constantly have to have this fight where people are like, oh, we need to talk to 1 million people, and I'm like, look, if we talk to 10 people and they're engaged rather than 1 million who don't, I would rather talk to that small group of people who are constantly engaged. And the same can be said about, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's, YouTube or streaming and stuff like that. It's not necessarily the number, it's the engagement and those people that enjoy the content and are constantly engaged the whole time. So
absolutely.
Which for everyone who's watching this right now or watching this on demand, thank you very much. Cheap plug. But yeah. Okay, so you set up the YouTube channel. You obviously had some troubles, and you kind of get
some
your
personnel issues.
Yes. So what was the subject choice of looking into film rather than anything else that you kind of could have done? And I know you're a fan of games, but we'll touch on that later. But why specifically film? What was the reason for setting up the YouTube channel and doing film? Was there a catalyst where you said, you know what, there's a specific subject I want to talk about, I should do a YouTube video on this?
I did think about different things, and I considered games, and I thought, there's a lot of gaming content out there. There's a lot of YouTube gaming content.
Yes, there is.
And a lot of those people are my friends. So that wasn't something I felt I could add to. I didn't feel like I had anything new to say on that subject or anything particularly insightful that other people I liked and respected weren't already saying. So it was like, why bother? People are doing it and doing it better than I could, so leave them to it. Cinema was then kind of, that was like the next love. It was like, I enjoy listening to other people talking about cinema. Most of the podcasts I listen to are generally around cinema, so I used to listen to the Empire podcast, but I gave up on that. But Kermode and Mayo, Skip to the End, one of my favourite podcasts.
That's a very good one, actually. I personally listen to that, and it's a fantastic podcast.
You listen to Skip to the End?
I do. I do.
That's good to know. You may know that I'm hosting their live show this Saturday.
I am very aware of that, so there you go.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So I listened to a lot of people talking about films, and I thought, well, I can do that. And that's often been the inspiration for most people trying something, is, I can do that. And I kind of felt, why can't I do that? I was fairly confident. I didn't mind being on camera. I had opinions. And to be fair, that's all you need on YouTube, isn't it? Opinions.
Pretty much.
They don't need to be well thought through or considered or balanced. You just need opinions and a way of spewing them out of the screen.
Well, I think one of the things that's made YouTube a lot easier is these things. I mean, after all, you can shoot especially now, a 4K video on a phone and upload it directly from it. So, if anything, it's probably become easier to be I hate using this term, content creator, than it ever has before. So, it's
better than the word influencer. At least you didn't say influencer. We got a chest pain then, didn't you?
That hit me straight in the M. Oh, how dare you? I bloody detest that word with a passion. Okay, so, how... I'm trying to think of how I can word this. Is there a specific genre of film that you have an interest in, or is it just a broad scale of kind of film that you look into? Is there specific directors that you have an interest in, or a specific genre? Kind of what's the thing that gets you most fired up about film?
Wow.
Yeah, good questions. It's what I do.
Yeah, it really was. When I actually did an episode about this called "What's Your Favourite Film?" because what you generally find is that for any film lover, that's the question they dread the most. It's because I don't have a favourite film apart from Back to the Future, which is the greatest film ever made, and I'll fight anybody in the car park after this podcast if they disagree with me.
I think there's a few of us who would agree with that. So
that's fine. So Back to the Future aside, I I love any cinema if it's good and if it's made from the heart and it's got something to say and it's interesting. To me, genre is generally genre is just the plate on which the film sits. It's the food that's important, and that food is the characters and the script and the dialogue and even the cinematography and all those other elements. But the genre just kind of carries that along. So, like, yeah, I mean, I mentioned American Werewolf in London earlier. Great film, amazing film, funny, hilarious, gory, scary. But one of my other favourite films is Little Miss Sunshine, which is a family drama. Another one of my favourite films is Primer, which is a time travel, not documentary, time travel documentary. A time travel film that was made for about 4,000 quid 14 years ago by one of my heroes, Shane Carruth. So genre doesn't come into it. If it's a good film and it's made with heart and it's got something interesting to say or it makes me laugh, then I'm into it, definitely.
I like that. I like that you have a and do you know what? I think that's a better way of maybe understanding a subject is probably the way I should phrase it. Where I think some people will hone in on one specific area, which is totally fine depending on what they want to do. But I think especially when it comes to film, I think education across a broader area makes you actually appreciate the smaller things in film probably a bit more. I mean, you know, my stream yesterday that I did for Blade Runner, the game on the PC. Blade Runner was actually, the story is basically I got the game with a DVD player that went in our family PC. The game come bundled with it. I played the game, and then on the back of that, then realised that it was a film. Watched the film, fell in love with the franchise, and off the back of that, that's where my love for sort of video making, film editing, and graphic kind of video effects and stuff like that actually came from, and that's why I went ahead and studied it. So it's all spawned from that. So. But yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I kind of then went away and kind of looked at, you know, special effects and kind of, you know, why things are done in a certain way. And it was only, you know, like I said, you hone in on one specific thing. But then it was only because I then broadened out and kind of said, well, okay, special effects adds X. What's the Y and Z? And then you kind of think, oh, okay, this is why things are cut in, and this is where special effects are added, and maybe not in this particular scene. So yeah, film is a fascinating area, and I mean, you know, I don't know your history of film, but I think the one thing that has been interesting for me personally to see is the Eastern influence that is slowly starting to move its way west with the filmmaking. I mean, I don't know if you've watched any Japanese horror films, but they pretty much shit on anything that is made in the West. Probably because I've sharted myself quite a few times watching those films. So, and I'm quite happy to say that as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, is there a specific kind of film that's come from sort of everything sort of East that's a favourite of yours?
There is a film I really like called Afterlife, which is a Japanese film. I don't think many people have heard of it, but
I'm about to jot that down in my notepad, actually.
Afterlife, yeah. The premise of the film is that when you die, you go to this this kind of building, this kind of limbo place where you get this building.
That sounds boring, but anyway. But you're set up in a building, you've got your papers here, right, in you go, mate.
There you go, off you go, mate. You're met by your kind of caseworker, and what your caseworker does is kind of spend some time with you over a few days and get you to talk about and describe your favourite memory. And what they do then is, with the help of props and equipment and stuff like that, they recreate your favourite memory for you. And that is the final memory that you take with you when you go on to heaven.
Right. Okay,
so
that's cool.
It's a beautiful little idea. It's a film that's about characters and dialogue. It doesn't really fit a genre. I suppose you'd call it fantasy, perhaps, or drama. But it's a beautiful film about memory, and it's a beautiful film about film because it plays on that wonderful association between film and cinema and memory, and using film techniques like props and fans and different equipment and lights and stuff like that to recreate memories for people to then take with them when they go to heaven. It's a beautiful film. Yeah, I've failed miserably to describe it well, but it's a gorgeous film.
Well, I have jotted it down in my my Game Boy notepad, so it is sat in there. So
That's in there now.
Yeah, it's in there forever, so it's staying there. Okay, so let's move slightly away from film and let's move into another love that we both love, and that is gaming. So I spotted the other day that you played a lot of, how can I best describe it? Really shit DOS games, which for me is incredibly entertaining because I thoroughly enjoyed watching you completely fail at playing those games.
I'm glad you were entertained.
Oh, it was fantastic. Are you not entertained? There we go, film reference. But yeah, it was bloody brilliant is the only way I'll describe that. And if you've not watched that, please go to Graham's channel and watch it. I was in hysterics because you cut that video fantastically well. So thank you for giving us the gift of your failure at playing DOS games is all I can say.
That's quite all right. Can I just, to give it some context, I don't normally stream games because, as I alluded to earlier, there are other people doing that and doing it way better than I do it. I was basically keeping the seat warm for the amazing Nikki and Bunty who do a Friday night gaming stream.
Agreed.
And they're on a little break at the moment, and there's a bunch of us who've been organised and corralled by Retro Princess to keep the seat warm on a Friday night. And it was my turn to do that this Friday, so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll download DOSBox. Got my oldest son to help me with that. He took me onto this weird little website called Abandonware, where I downloaded all these DOS things. He taught me how to use DOS because I didn't have a clue. I really didn't have. My gaming history goes back as far as cartridges. So it starts with Atari, goes through Nintendo, through Sega, and then discs. In terms of PC gaming and DOS gaming and stuff like that, no knowledge.
Right. Okay. So
that's why half that video was just me fumbling around, going, "Oh, this doesn't fucking work." And
that's the thing, because funny enough, like I would say up to, let me have a think. So up to the Super Nintendo, our family then kind of became computer upgraded, I guess is the term we'd use. We had Amigas, and then we started getting PC. So watching you trying to navigate DOS brought back so many memories of me personally going through the same struggle with not having my dad and my brother to sort of like teach me what, and I'm just like, what is this shit? Like, it was just like start so game, return, no, like I don't know, run, no, like just effing work, you know. So yeah, it was quite a nostalgia trip for me actually. But
I'm glad you got something out of it, because all I got out of it was
pain.
Yeah,
pain.
A
headache and pain. But hey, at least you learnt a new skill, which is how to operate DOS. So you know, if Skynet does kick off, and that's not Trista Bytes' PC, I'm talking about actual Skynet.
Actual Skynet. I can take it down. I can hack it.
Exactly. So there we go. So if John Connor is currently unavailable, we can rely on Graham. Oh, sorry, that way. No, that way. There we go. We can rely on Graham to take Skynet down. So there we go.
Yeah, I mean, if you I'm going to do a bit of cross-pollination here, just to bring the two subjects of computers and cinema together. I did a video a few months ago with Stuart Ashens, about his favourite movie computers. And that one's particularly fun because he talks about the one that's in Superman 3 that scared the shit out of all of us when we were little. Yes, that's a really good video. Go and check that one out if you're a fan of Ashens, because that's a fun video that we did together. Yes,
and Stuart's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's good, and it was very nice for him to come onto my channel and do that. But so that DOS gaming, it's probably going to be a one-time thing. So yeah, I'm not sure.
I knew you were going to say that. So going into games, I mean, you know, you've obviously said that you've gone for a multitude of different consoles. Is there one film-related game that is your favourite? Now, I've currently got Alien 3 running in the background on the Mega Drive, because I thought I would put something on film-related. Admittedly, and just before the stream started, I did say that I wanted to get a Back to the Future game running that was retro. Unfortunately, all of them are shit. Almost in time. Good work. They are absolutely... They were absolutely awful. And what was hilarious is I wanted something that kind of had, you know, something to run in the background, and I saw all of them. And I tried them on, I think it was the Amiga. I think there was one on the Mega Drive. I think there was also one on something else. And I just sat there and I went, there is no way I'm putting that in the background of my stream because it looked awful. But anyway, we've got Alien 3, so that's good.
Jolly good.
That was good. So anyway, the question, which film-related game is your favourite? Go.
See, I'm going to go quite modern now, which will probably upset some of the retro people.
That's all right. Look, we are not strictly gaming at the moment, so you go with the answer that you feel best.
Well, I'll tell you what. This has a movie link. One of my favourite movie bases is Muppet Race Mania on the PlayStation 1.
Well, I was not expecting you to say that. Bloody hell.
That is a stunning game, and all the different tracks in the game are based on locations from all the different Muppet movies. So
do you know
Muppets
what? I don't. I'm going to reach for the pad and paper again. What was the name of that?
Muppet Race Mania on the
there
PS1.
There we
You've
go.
not heard of this thing?
I have not heard of it. No, you have you have stunned the mighty MeanMachineDean in not knowing a game. Good God.
It's amazing. It's it constantly fights in my head for the title of best karting game against Mario Kart 8. It's that bloody good.
Wow. Now that is a. Graham, are you sure about this? Or are you are you trolling me at the moment? I'm now getting worried.
No. I'm a massive fan of the Muppets. Look, there you go. Look, Muppets mug.
There we go.
I love the Muppets and all things Muppet related.
Well, the only thing I've got Muppet related is my own mug. So there we go.
Nice.
So I can't trade with the Muppets, unfortunately. But that's a very interesting choice. In fact, you've absolutely stunned me there that I can't actually get my head around that at the moment. I mean, it's funny because I'm looking in chat and I can just imagine everyone going, "What?
What? What's that game?" No, it's an amazing game. But in terms of modern stuff, I'm a big fan of the Lego tie-in games. Not all of them, but some of them. So the original Lego Star Wars games were fantastic. The Lego Marvel games were good. The Lego DC games were all right. Lego Batman 1. I didn't like the Lego Hobbit game. That was unplayable. That was rubbish. The Indiana Jones one was okay. Didn't play the Harry Potter ones. But I was a big fan of those Lego times when they were done. So
I totally agree. Some of the earlier Traveller's Tales Lego games were absolutely brilliant, and I remember laughing an awful lot at the, especially the comedy elements that they had added, especially into the Star Wars ones, were absolutely outstanding.
Stormtroopers in a hot tub,
why not? Even just like the way that it got Chewbacca just to do ridiculous stuff, and especially some of the serious moments in the films that they just completely broken down into comedy routines, which just fantastic. But
they were great. The
only thing I'm finding now is I feel like it's becoming a bit of a one-trick pony whereas when it originally came out, it was like a big thing. It was like, wow, this is amazing. It just seems like some of that creativity's been lost. However, and it's not kind of film related, but I was actually talking to a colleague of mine because I recently played the new Forza Horizon on PC, and they've added a Lego modification which turns the entire thing into bloody Lego. So you drive Lego cars, you drive on a Lego track, you drive through buildings that are made of Lego. The house that you have is made of Lego. It's all bloody Lego, and it's amazing. So
that does sound fantastic,
and it is absolutely brilliant. We were playing a little bit of it today at work. Shh, don't tell my boss. But it was brilliant. It's amazing how having those little crossover things of whether it's a film brand and something that's physical.
It doesn't always doesn't always pay off though, does it?
No, agreed.
I mean, like Lego Dimensions was, to me, a disaster. I bought right into the marketing for that. I mean, Jesus, they wheeled out Chris Lloyd to promote Lego Dimensions. I was always going to get it, and it did look good, and the kind of concept was. Yeah, fantastic. You got tangible figures that you could build and kits that you could build that then interacted with the game. So on paper, brilliant. But it was just frustrating, and it was clearly designed to just make kids go out and buy tons and tons of expensive kits that they couldn't afford, and you literally couldn't progress in the game without buying extra kits. It was just a broken design. It was horrible.
Yeah,
and it was disappointing because you always felt that Lego was heart and humour, as you said before, and that game really did just feel like a cash grab. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, it's a real shame when something's good that a company then suddenly throws the monetary hammer in and goes, oh well, if this is working well, let's bloody milk the cow for all we can. And it's a real shame because, as I said, the earlier Traveller's Tales games were absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately you could kind of see game on game it just slowly started to teeter off. But I mean, what I would like to see is kind of, I don't know if I could be completely wrong here, would be to them to kind of actually do Lego sets where you kind of build the actual thing and then put it on a platform, and then it brings that entire thing into the game for you to play. I mean, that would be kind of a nice tie-in, because at least you've got something quite nice that you can obviously build that then brings it into the game. And I think there were rumours about maybe an artificial reality type thing, where you kind of use your phone to kind of interact with things. But I think I can see Lego doing something kind of cool, and I think that may be why they're kind of stalling a little bit on possibly releasing a few more of these kind of crossover games. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
I hope so, because I still think they are. Yeah, they've still got good ideas, and they're still very creative, and I will forgive them for Lego Dimensions, because
you will forgive them because you bought it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You bought into it, so you're stuck with it, unfortunately. Right, sorry, I'm so stunned by that Muppet game that I'm still trying to get my head around it at the moment, because I was not expecting that at all.
And it has such a great soundtrack as well. Oh my god, the music in it's brilliant.
Right, there we go. Right, in a future stream, I will have to play it on the recommendation of Graham.
Oh yes, I will be front and centre for that one, mate.
There we go. I've got one viewer. Come on, get in. So, going back to your gaming, what was your first ever sort of memory of video games? Was there a sort of standout game that you can remember, or a particular moment, or a console that you kind of vividly remember when someone says retro gaming? What's the one thing that kind of grabs you and brings back that nostalgia for you?
It's the Atari, and it wasn't mine. I was quite young. I think he was about 17, so it was my mum's younger brother, my Uncle Stephen. He had a big impact on my gaming life, did my Uncle Stephen. He still games to this day, and he's in his 50s. And he used to come round to our house because we had a big colour telly, and he only had a little black and white portable telly. So he used to bring his Atari round to our house to set it up. And yeah, classics like, Space Invaders and Pac-Man and Yard's Revenge and Centipede and Pole Position and all this stuff. Yeah. It sounds almost cliche to roll out those titles, but those were the games he had, and they were fantastic. So that's my kind of earliest gaming memory. And then as he got a bit older, he got a NES, so it was going around his house and playing on that, and staying up until probably 3 a.m. to finish Super Mario 3. Whenever I think of gaming and games, it always leads back to my Uncle Stephen and whatever console he had. I got through extension. The first console I ever owned for myself that I bought with my own money was a Mega Drive.
Oh.
And Sonic 2 was the game that kept me awake at night.
Right, so if I'm correct in assuming Sonic 2, which means you would have owned a Mega Drive 2, is that correct?
The smaller one, yeah.
Right. Now,
with the red button, yeah.
Correct. Good answer, because that's the best one. And anyone who disagrees, I will fight them until the doom. There is now 3 of us who I know here who are in agreement, and that's myself, Graham, and also Trista Bites.
Well, there you go.
So if you want to fight us for that, that's 3 of us. So you're going to have a hard battle in your hands. So
we will kick your ass.
There we go. He said that, I didn't. But no, do you know what? It's really nice to hear stories like that, because it's amazing how it was almost like small communities back in kind of the early, even the 70s, if you want to go far as back as that. Not that you're that old before you think I'm insinuating that. But it's amazing where you kind of look back, and my dad used to tell me similar stories where someone would, whether it be in the area or within a workplace or at school, would obtain, whether it be a computer or even an arcade machine or a pinball, and kind of everyone would congregate to that one area, or someone in the area's got a brand new Amiga or Super Nintendo or a NES or whatever it was, and kind of everyone would go to that household together as well. And that's, I say this on quite a few of my podcasts, it's one of the sad things that's now missing from modern day culture, is the kind of all community getting around into things. And I'm quite an avid game player about beat 'em ups and stuff like that, and I'm very much into my tech. And years ago, it was a case of going to the arcades, going to places like the Trocadero, where everybody would get together and it would be a real sense of community and stuff like that. But you know, it's a blessing and obviously a hindrance where the internet has kind of enabled us to talk to so many people at one time and kind of play people from all around the world. But again, that kind of sense of community has now been lost. But it's, I mean, you know, I'm still wet behind the ears with regards to kind of the retro community in this country. But the one thing that I can say is there's definitely a very, very, very strong retro gaming community that's all about bringing people together and bringing back those memories and bringing back and restoring the original hardware, which I think is fantastic for preserving things. And the other interesting thing, and you know, I kind of have daily battles where I work, where the technology we make is kind of very advanced, and we talk about the future of graphics and things like that, and people are like, you shouldn't care because you're only interested in retro. And I'm like, but you guys all love retro, and I'm sure if I go and get a Mega Drive and stuff and set this up, you'll play it. And in fact, we've actually got an N64 sat in our office, and it's the most played thing in our office. So if there's ever proof that retro is stronger than ever, that is it.
Yeah, definitely.
So on that note, I've just had a quick look at the time, and I can see it is 5 to 9. Which means that we're getting close to the hour, which is unbelievable, and I can't believe we've just nearly clocked.
I know, blasted through an hour.
I know, it's brilliant. So what I normally do is I normally offer the floor back to you, so I will virtually pass you the microphone again. There we go. Thank you very much, and I will let you explain anything else that you want people to do, any projects or anything that you'd like to say to the wonderful people on demand, and the 11 people that are currently watching this at the moment. So over to you.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on. I enjoy talking to you.
You're very welcome. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you, mate. And thanks to everyone who is listening along live and listens to this in the future, sitting on a rock in a barren wasteland when the world has been ravaged by radioactive dogs. And you're all gathered around one dusty old iPod listening to podcasts. So, yeah, you can come and see me on Twitter at Jaws19Show. I'm very active on there. I tend to interact with everybody and say hello to anyone who likes things and replies and stuff like that. My YouTube channel is just Jaws19. So if you go to YouTube and search for Jaws19, you'll probably first get the spoof trailer of the film Jaws19, and then you'll see my stuff. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Jaws19, and there are quite a few wonderful, beautiful human souls who actually give me a few of their hard-earned pounds every month, and that helps me get things like, you know, equipment and lights and computers that work, because this one's about to die. And also the Patreon people have helped fund the film that I'm shooting in a couple of weeks' time.
I'm quite glad that you've donated the last hour of that laptop's life to myself, so congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It's died for the cause, mate. It has. Yeah, that's it really. I don't have anything else to pimp or to promote really, other than Twitter and the YouTube. Just want to say hello.
There we go. So I've actually just pumped in I must stop saying that phrase, because I'm sure people are going to take it out of context. I have placed very delicately in the chat a couple of links for Graham for his Twitter and YouTube. So please make sure you go and follow him. Graham is a massive advocate of being brilliant. As you can tell, he is an absolutely wonderful guy, and I can't thank him enough for giving me an hour of his incredibly valuable time to come and talk to this guy and everyone else as well. So no, thank you very much, Graham. All the best with the project. I cannot wait to see it. Right, and here's a question before we go. Do we have a rough release date of when it's going to be coming out?
Well, I told you I'm giving myself a week to edit it, so I'm going to finish filming it on the. I've finished editing it by the next Sunday, so it'll be early September for sure.
There we go. So make sure, and I'm guessing you're going to put it on YouTube. Is that correct?
I'm going to say that again, mate. You cut out.
Are you going to be uploading it to your YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah, it'll be up on YouTube for free for everybody to see.
So there we go. If you ever needed a reason to sub to his channel, is to see the upcoming film, which it will also have a friend of the channel, a friend of mine, Trista Bites, who will be, I'm sure, doing some amazing acting in it. So there we go. So if there's ever a reason to is to watch Bex do her thing, as well as the amazing work that Graham will perform, I'm sure it will be a fantastic film for all of us to enjoy. So what I will now do is quickly swing over and have a quick look in chat and see if there's anyone who's called me anything funny. I probably have, so I will have to go through that and scroll up at some point. But no, I just wanted to thank you all very, very much for hanging out. For anyone watching us on demand, again, thank you very much. And if you want to follow me, all of my links will be in the description, as will Graham's links to all of his social medias. And I also put the link in if you want to donate to his project, which he is doing. So from me, MeanMachineDean. And from that wonderful person on, hang on, that side, there we go. We'll get this right one time. On that side of the screen. Because everything's in reverse. I'm pointing at a wall, but you're over there, so it feels a bit well. I should be pointing that way anyway. That. So from Alien 3 and from Graham, I will bid you all a very pleasant evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are. MeanMachineDean signing out, and thank you very much for joining Mean Machine Talks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.